All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ podcast. Thank you for letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. This is a Kiss-related podcast by the board, for the board. We hope you enjoy. Welcome to episode 55 of the KissFAQ podcast. Thank you for joining us today. Joining me, who, of course, I'm Julian, the admin of the KissFAQ, is Lonnie, St. Louis Kiss. Welcome back.
I'm afraid I'm not going to be much good to you today, though, Alex. Alex, you're Julian. I'm not going to be much good to you today. I'm a little down in the dumps about the Rams.
About the who?
About the Rams moving away from my hometown.
Oh, so. Never heard of her. I'm just glad that they left the Raiders up in the Bay Area because it's nice to have one decent fucking team.
Oh.
Marcus Almighty. Mark, thank you for joining us again. And, of course, Alex, BagBoy, who is not going to rush out in the middle of the show this time. No, so we've managed to work out a schedule this week that hopefully works for everyone, something different. Before we get into the show, it's probably only right to mention the passing of another icon. Last month we lost Lemmy. This month we lose the absolutely amazing David Bowie. And I don't know how much crossover there is in the Kiss Army, but I think when we think about music and those artists that make a gigantic difference in life, Bowie's probably way up there for a lot of us, not least, Ziggy era concept albums, stuff similar to the Elder. Yeah, Someone's Prepared.
Absolutely.
So just before we hop into the topic, I did want to that's my favorite album right there, Aladdin Sane, best fucking Bowie album for me personally. It's just hit you guys. Favorite Bowie tracks? Alex, you look pensive. You look ready to jump in there.
I love and I think Gary Schaller, because he's a big Pink Floyd fan. David Bowie did an excellent job of See Emily Play, which was I think it was on the American version of Piper at the Gates of Dawn, the first Pink Floyd album. But if you haven't heard a great cover track by Bowie, definitely that song is excellent. And I do love the live TVC 15 that he did at the Live Aid in 1985. He did a great version of that song live.
That's cool. See Emily Play, did he do that on pinups, or was that just one he cut somewhere else?
Which one?
See Emily Play.
He did with David Gilmour, didn't he?
I've got the single. I got it off iTunes. It was really a couple months ago when I got the Pink Floyd box set, so that's how I got introduced to that version. But it was like a best comp.
Mark, how about you? You've just put up a whole bunch of his really, really classic albums, including his last two, The Next Day and Black Star. What's a favorite track for you?
Well, I'm a huge fan of the whole Ziggy thing. I mean, Suffrage and City, and all those, anything from there. I mean, Moon Age Daydream is one of my favorite songs he's ever done. It's a really, really great song. I mean, my favorite album, though, top to bottom, it's got to be Low. I mean, as soon as he started working with Brian Eno and Robert Fripp on that whole Berlin trilogy, I really, really got into it then. And, I was very surprised the day that it happened when he passed away. I don't know what happened. I woke up about 2 o'clock in the morning, and I went to the washroom real quick, and something told me to check my phone, and boom, I just saw all this stuff about him passing away, and it really, really hit me, because, I mean, just not long ago we had Lemmy, and now we have David Bowie, and if those stupid rumors are true about things happening in threes, then I guess it's not done yet, but hopefully it is, so.
Yeah, that's real nice. Lonnie?
Personally, I hope it is done, because Scott Weiland died. I consider Weiland, and then Lemmy, and then David Bowie. Hopefully it is.
That's true.
And Weiland, and it's kind of a bookend, because I'm a very big Stone Temple Pilots fan and Velvet Revolver guy. And, Scott Weiland was a very big David Bowie fan. So I hope those two are collaborating in the afterlife together. So
yeah.
But as far as David Bowie tracks, I it's going to sound cliche, but I can never get past Space Oddity, and the song is just so epic in my opinion. Maybe that's like me saying Rock and Roll All Night's my favorite Kiss song, but Space Oddity to me is just the perfect David Bowie song. It's just
a great song is a great song, though, right?
It's just groundbreaking, and it to me it just sums up David Bowie and perfectly. I mean, it's the perfect David Bowie song to me.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say really quickly though before we continue that if you're gonna get if you're just introducing yourself to Bowie, go out and get this. If you don't buy this, then you're a fool, and you really should go get it. It's one of the best Bowie records ever made. Okay.
Yeah, I had to dig out my cassettes because I've got that on cassette, Diamond Dogs, and what is it, Black Tie, White Heater.
Yeah.
Those are the only ones I have other than the Greatest Hits. But Aladdin Sane is the album. My favorite song is The Width of a Circle from The Man Who Sold the World. And I'm a big fan. If you want an introduction to Bowie, I mean, I got kind of my introduction to him was pre-Kiss, Let's Dance, and all the stuff that was on MTV in that era. So I was late again to the party for him. But my favorite recording, and it's one I always play at least once a week, is the Cybernauts. And that was Joe Elliott, Phil Cole of Def Leppard, Woody Woodmansey, what's his name, the bass player, Trevor. And I can't remember his last name, but two of the Spiders and Dick Decent did a tribute concert to Ronson in Japan in 2000, I think it was, or 1999. And it's just a fantastic freaking live album of the best of the Ronson-related tracks. Also a couple of the covers they did, like from the Velvet Underground and one track off Ronson's. But before we get too deep into turning this into a Bowie podcast, anyone else had any cool activities this week, Alex?
Oh, I totally did. I got to hang. Lonnie, zip it.
Let's go.
I got to hang with fellow Casablanca label mates, Village people in Park City. Got to spend about an hour with the group. But one of the exciting things with the group, if you know your Kiss trivia, you will know that that guy right there, his name is Ray Simpson. He's the lead vocalist and has been a cop since '79. But he sang backup on Kiss's Love Gun album, singing on Tomorrow and Tonight. And it was fun talking with him because I mentioned it to him back in the dressing room with the group. And he was all like, wow, I didn't know I didn't know it was out there and stuff. He goes, yeah, it was way cool when Gene and Paul called me up at the time. And they asked me to come sing on the album. And, you know, went in there and he did it. And I think the funny thing was, he was like, what song was it again? I can't remember what song it was and stuff. So I had to send him the track afterwards and stuff like that. But, you know, he said it was a cool experience at the time. My niece was 77, so it was a few years before he would replace the original lead singer of Village People. But his sister, of course, is Valerie Simpson of Ashford and Simpson, so there was some music connection there. But it was one of those, they called him up, he went in, did the track, and that was about it.
So which album did you get signed by them? Renaissance?
Oh, I did have Renaissance signed. I've got a couple. I think we might need to get Lonnie this one though, just for Lonnie.
Ooh, the best of.
I got three things to say about that.
But you know, I will say this: good guys put on a great show, and you know, if they ever come in, hey, it's a good concert, but nice people, very nice guys.
You know what? Music is music, and a show is a show. And Parliament Funkadelic were putting on a hell of a show in the '70s, as well as the Village People.
You sound like the girl in Detroit Rock City. Good tunes is good tunes.
Oh.
Yeah, I think I'm actually just getting to that part in that Platinum book, the Casablanca one there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so enough of a tangent. Today's topic is the recently announced Kiss Kruise 6. And straight up, who wants to go and who's definitely going? Because I would love to go, but...
They've raised the prices. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, it's went up.
Drastically since I went on Kiss Kruise 2, and it's almost doubled in price since when I went on Kiss Kruise 2.
Well, what?
Almost doubled.
Yeah. I'd love to go. I would love to go. I mean... I'll admit it.
When they had two this year, though,
yeah.
Too.
When they announced it, and I saw they were going to the Cayman Islands, I think the Grand Cayman. They said that's another thing that made me want to go because I've always wanted to go to Grand Cayman, and I've been thinking, you know, forwards and backwards of how to, you know, being a full-time musician, that being my main means of money. I had to think of a way to come up with the cash to do it. It's kind of hard. I mean, right now to do that, especially too after, you know, father passed, not to dump a lot of money for those kind of things to come up with the cash. I mean, I'm probably gonna have to pass, but I've sworn to myself though that if they do another Kiss Cruise, I will go. And if they ever do another residency, I'm going for sure to that. But I mean, I'd love to go. You never know, something might happen between now and then. But as of right now, I'd love to go. Can't really afford to, but if something does change, you guys will be the first to know.
Hey, the family penthouse suite isn't too bad. It's only $39.90 double.
Well, Alex, you and I can win there.
I
know. Unbelievable.
Yeah, that's pretty steep, but it really sounds like it might be kind of exciting. Alex, would you go? Are you going?
I want to go.
I'm sure any of us would want to
go. Love to go.
I've been talking with Nigel. I think we might be cabin mates for. We're looking into it. Nigel, get back to me. He was talking to me when I was heading down to Utah, and so I was like, I got to talk to you later. I'm busy traveling. I'd love to go. I think it'd be fun. I mean, yeah, the price is a little high, but I mean, then again, you look at what you're getting because you are getting 2 shows. If you go with the cheapest package, it's like $800, $900. Well, it's close to $1,000. I mean, you get in 2 shows, you get to meet the band, but
and there's a whole lot of other shit that goes on the boats while you're doing it. I mean,
right.
All the other acts out of there, the activities. I mean, who wouldn't want to make pizza with Paul Stanley? I mean, yeah, I thought that was absolutely hilarious, and I would be down for that. It's not what I consider cooking, but it's what I consider fun. Shit like that. I'm not mocking it. I'm actually serious. I would actually go watch Paul Stanley talk about making something stupid like pizza, and it would just be a good laugh. And the shows are fantastic. I mean, the prices here, quad occupancy interior cabin, which I'm sure is just a place to lay your head, is $660.
Let me tell you, you put 4 people in one of those rooms, man, you're not going to have room to move.
Oh, I don't know. If you've been in jail before, it's really not that bad.
Alex, how was
it? That's great.
And man, that's not to mention that's a tight fit. But man, if any of those people get gas at night, man, you're gonna need some oxygen masks in there.
Wait! Here comes Chip Magoo, Kiss branded lube to get into your cabin. So
for sale in prisons and on the cruise.
So I would love to go. I mean, it's just one of those things that it's at a really bad time of year. It's in soccer season, so football for me comes first, whether I'm coaching or shuttling players around. It's just I can't do it, and also the cost. There are other things that I really like to use my money on, like going to England is a good one. But I know I'm missing something awesome every time people come back, and you hear the stories about how fucking cool it was in person. I'm like kind of depressed. I got to do it next time, and then I get to the price and the dates, and it just falls apart for me. So.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, every time whenever you pass on it, and then you come back and hear the stories about stuff that happened. I mean, the one that I really was upset that I missed, and I would have really loved to have seen, was this one here, where they went and played in the suits on stage. I think that was Kiss Cruise 4, right? And I really thought that was a really cool idea to kind of do the whole Dress to Kill kind of look to it. And when I heard about that, I was pretty upset that I missed that, to be honest. But like Julian said, I mean, the problem with this sometimes is timing, when it happens, and the whole thing with real life. I mean, if any one of us win the Powerball, that could change everything. But
I'm taking all you on the Kiss Cruise. If I win the Powerball,
I got my ticket over there.
Being Canadian, I didn't cross to go get it, but I mean,
Mark,
I'm counting on one.
Powerball, you're going on the Kiss Cruise.
Great. That's what I was just waiting for you to hear you say that. If any of you guys win it, I'm hoping on you, good buddies of mine, to bring me on the cruise with you guys.
We're going, and we'll even bring little Andrew with us.
All right.
Well, yeah, you need someone to carry the luggage. Sorry, Andrew. Not even here. You shouldn't be a target. So let's talk. They've said that this one's going to be based on Creatures of the Night. So what do we see, and what do we think they should do to reinterpret it? And the first thing I want to get out of the way is makeup. That no one's dressing up as Vinnie Vincent. No one's dressing up as Eric Carr, because number one, Vinnie would sue them. Number two, Vinnie would sue them. And number 3, there'll be plenty of people dressed up as Vinny and
and they might get sued.
And Eric, so might as well let them get sued and leave the band alone, right?
If there's a time for a fan to dress up like Vinny or Eric, though, it's for that cruise. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are your thoughts on makeup? I mean, is that pretty much, you don't expect that even to be a question, right?
I'd be shocked. I'd be floored at that.
I think it'd be cool to see if them bring the costumes, but for the makeup, and because they've made such a huge stand of saying like, no, this is the original lineup, the original is the iconic. It'd be crazy for them to even want to do it. Like you'd have people go like, oh, so now 11 years later you decide to do some other makeup design. So I don't see them doing it at all. If they do, hey, cool beans. If not, not surprised.
I mean, can you see Tommy dressing up as Ace Frehley, dressing up as Vinnie Vincent? I mean,
oh my god,
dude's gonna, who the fuck am I? You know,
that would just give him like two storms to get crapped on now. Like all the Vinnie fans going, that copycat.
Your website would crash, though, Julian.
Yeah, your website would crash.
Oh, I think the FAQ has a meltdown every day. Sometimes people don't see them because we catch them pretty quick, but the freak out is high.
It would go berserk.
But I'm just thinking about Vinny, and Creature's Air, Vinny in particular. Do we all chip in and send Tommy a violin bow? He can work on a new solo.
Oh, that'd be wild.
Yeah. I mean, why not? I mean, let's put it this way. I kept hearing a lot of things on different podcasts where people are saying, what's going to happen? Are they going to actually play the whole album on stage, or what is it? And I was thinking that's not going to happen.
That's probably just how they announced it.
Yeah, they're going to probably just do a Creatures style set where they do the kind of set list they probably would have did on the Creatures of the Night tour, is what I'm thinking. And they'll probably have to bring their one and only solitary prop of that tour, which is the tank, obviously. I mean, there was nothing else on stage but that, and just a bunch of marshals everywhere, right? So I'm guessing that's going to be the whole thing. The other thing is, what I'm thinking is, are they going to try to do a recreation of Eric Carr's kit on stage? That's the only thing I'm kind of wondering about, because, I mean, in tribute to him, would you think it would be right to do that? To put up a drum kit similar to how his was on the tour, or just leave it the way Eric Singer normally has his kit up on stage?
Absolutely. Why not honor Eric Carr?
Yeah.
And Eric Singer is more than capable of handling anything that Eric had in his drum kit and figuring out where it is. I mean, just look at the Revenge kit. Come on, there's really not that much difference.
Not that much difference.
I'm sure drummers will rip me apart for that, but in terms of a schmuck standing there looking at something that looks impressive, it wasn't Neil Peart standard, but it was big. So, you got the tank. What else? What else makes you think of Creatures Air? Because quickly looking at, they put 6 songs from the Creatures album out the first few nights of the tour in '82. So, Creatures of the Night, I Love It Loud, Keep Me Coming. There's no way in hell Keep Me Coming is getting performed. You know that now. War Machine, is going to get performed. Rock and Roll Hell, I think that might be a deep cut that gets done because it's a Gene vocal, and I Still Love You.
They could do that. They could pull that off.
Yeah.
Can they pull
off Saint and Sinner?
I wish they would.
They could pull that off. It's a Gene song. They could pull that off.
But I mean, what is my one song off that album that I would absolutely kill to hear?
I Still Love You.
Killer.
Oh, Killer.
Yeah.
That'd be sick.
They could pull that off, too.
Again, Gene song.
Absolutely.
They're not going to do Danger. You know that. So there's only 3 songs they've never performed off the album. Saint and Sinner, Danger, and Killer. So which ones of those are maybe probable?
I think Rock and Roll Hell is probably, I think at this point, I would almost count on it, to be honest.
Yeah, and would you say that I Still Love You is definitely not going to get performed?
Yeah, that's a little out of his range, I think, by now.
It's not 1995.
Yeah. Not even 1990. Yeah, 95 or 82 or whatever, eh?
I mean, it sounded the best it's ever sounded on MTV Unplugged. I don't think that you're going to be able to pull a performance. I mean,
I don't want him to. I do not want him to. Yeah, do not even try, because I don't want those memories of how awesome.
Same thing with "Keep Me Coming." I don't want to hear "Keep Me Coming" in that kind of performance.
Yeah, I don't want to hear it because it's crap. But
just leave it alone. Yeah,
it's in "Read My Body" category for me.
It's not that bad. Come on.
But I mean, you brought up an interesting point, though, Julian. I mean, besides the tank, what really is there identifiable from that era? You know what I mean? Like, I mean,
you need the Paul Stanley crop top. You need the black tail.
Yeah, the Paul Stanley, the Paul Stanley ripped T-shirt.
Paul Stanley.
Yeah,
right. Your heart.
But that's another thing somebody brought up too, that they were saying that the costumes were a bit different, and that I'm not 100% sure if this is true or not, but they said that Gene's costume was a little bit more open-chested, and they were saying that at this point of their, elder age, is it such a wise idea to go out there with a nice big open bare-chested look for Gene? He might need to hit the gym. Yeah.
Do we want to see something like that? I don't know.
I'm thinking modifications in costume are going to happen, but I mean, really, the costumes, I guess, are sort of a identification mark to that time, as is the drum set thing. But
yeah, I don't think you can call it a Creatures tour show and go out there wearing anything but Creatures type of outfits.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you did the suits when you build Kiss Kruise 4 as Dress to Kill. You did the live costumes when you build it as Kiss Alive. Well, you have to follow suit, and I think you're right. I think there will be some modifications on Gene's costume in particular that I don't think he can have the big open look that he had in 1982. I mean, Christ, he's almost 70 years old.
Now, and another thing too. Sorry, Lonnie, just really quickly before I forget. Isn't it true on these cruises though that they have they're forbidden to use like pyro or flames and stuff like that on the cruise? So how are they going to replicate that ending with the tank firing off, the thing there? I mean, I guess they could sort of do it using sound effects, maybe more than pyro, or
the lights and the fog machine, no problem.
Yeah,
you can do an analog of that theatrically and totally non-pyro safely.
Didn't Kiss do one of the footy shows where they had like steam things going off instead?
Mm-hmm.
It was like instead of like fire.
Yeah, compressed air, or they'll pack it full of confetti and do an air cannon. Something like they did with the streamers coming down in the last one. There are ways around it without being completely faithful to what it was, but staying with the kind of feel of what it is. And when you've got 1,250 or 1,500 people packed into that small place, it's easy to shock and awe them with a little bit less intensity.
True.
Yeah.
So set list wise, I mean, the Creatures tour was actually pretty interesting in that they really dug back into the catalog a bit more. I think it's absolutely perfect for them these days. I mean, you look at some of the stuff that they brought into the set there, and I'm just looking at the the Sioux City set from December the 30th, 1982. So you get Strutter, Firehouse, Calling Dr. Love, Cold Gin, I Want You, Shout It Out Loud, God of Thunder, Love Gun, Black Diamond. Oh yeah, and Rock and Roll All Night and Detroit Rock City. So I mean, that's a pretty good set as far as I'm concerned. Later on when they start replacing songs, they bring other stuff back in. But should they be faithful to that set?
I just hope if they're going to do the set, they keep some of the speed that they played, because they did play some of the classic songs a little bit faster and stuff. And so I don't know. If they're going with the show, I hope it's not like a slow down show. I mean, I guess that's my only thing with it. And I'll mention another song too. I'm curious if Paul can do is "I Want You."
No.
Yeah, we haven't heard him do "I Want You."
No, he'll start doing that warbling crap that he does on it. I never want to hear that song again.
Are you crying, Julian?
I am. I like the song, but
a little bit.
It's what he does with it, the vocal acrobatics, that really turn me off. Especially in the last 10 years. So what was it, 2005 onwards, when he would start doing the warbling, I'd just be like, shut up, you can do another song. You're taking away and you're wrecking your voice, which I always felt that.
You play an 8-minute "I Want You" and it's just like, yeah, you could cram another song in there for what you're doing, and you're killing your voice at the same time, making me a little uncomfortable.
Kiss songs aren't that long.
It's interesting. You were mentioning about the whole set list there, and I went on as well just to check out the possible set lists there, and they had a average set list, I guess they call it here, like the average set list for the tour, and they had like, all the ones we mentioned, but they had here too, like Cold Gin was fourth, and then Guitar Solo was following it that early apparently, and then they had I Want You, which I know that we're not going to probably hear, but but they're obviously gonna. I'm thinking they're gonna probably stick to Creatures being the most current of the set, or do you think they're going to do things past that? That's the other thing I'm interested about. They can't do that if they're going to keep it as a Creatures tour, right? They have to keep that as the most current material, right? Because I mean, on here they still have for encore, they have like Strutter and stuff like that for their encore during that tour, right? So, I mean, that's another interesting thing too, because I mean, they're not going to be able to dip into some of their material past Creatures, right?
Maybe for the encore. I mean, Kiss Kruise, the past one they did, and then they did like Flaming Youth at one of the encores, so that was after the live set.
Yeah, but that's cool. Yeah. You can't go play Lick It Up or something while you're doing it.
Yeah, what I mean? Like, maybe this is the one tour that will finally get them that they don't play Lick It Up finally,
They'll do that on the Sail Away show because they can't get away with not playing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. They can do those songs then, because then they're kind of restricted with the Creatures kind of style set list, right?
Well, that's an interesting thought, Mark. See, if they were to do a Creatures type set for the main shows, what are they going to do for the Sail Away show? Do they do something that's just beyond Creatures? Everything that they play is beyond Creatures. Now that'd be pretty freaking cool.
Yeah, they're going to do the Revenge theme. Do the Revenge theme for the Sail Away.
Well, we all have hopes and dreams, and
I want the Asylum theme for the Sail Away show.
That Julian would definitely go if that was. but it'd be cool though if like they did. You might get like your wish, like what some people were thinking they were going to do for the Unmasked Sail Away show last year. If they say that, okay, well, to kind of be true to ourselves, and since we're going to do all these Creatures songs and pre-Creature song for the main makeup shows, maybe for the Sail Away show we do Lick It Up and Beyond, and you might get some of those songs maybe that some people want to hear off of Sonic Boom or Monster or off of Revenge or Hot in the Shade or Lick It Up that you never get to hear. I mean, now that'd be pretty cool, diverse set list, like the diverse set list that they played last year on the Sail Away show, playing songs like Flaming Youth and things, and Mr. Speed and things like that, and be a way to shake things up even more.
But does it seem? But can they pull it? Is it very odd to even be doing anything with Creatures when this is the 40th anniversary of Destroyer and Rock and Roll Over?
Maybe they're saving that for the.
It's Kiss. F Logic. It's Kiss.
Saving it for the 5 shows that have been announced so far.
Well, I definitely agree, though, with that. I mean, I think that this is very strange that they're doing that. I mean, Rock and Roll Over and Destroyer are such huge albums. I mean, as much as, let's put it this way, Rock and Roll Over is my favorite Kiss record. Creatures in the Night is number 2 for me as my favorite Kiss record. So I'm not going to diss Creatures by any stretch of the imagination, but why they wouldn't play Rock and Roll Over and Destroyer now, those are 2 records that really, really, really put them on the map. Okay, and ones that I'm sure tons of people know and have in their collection, more so than Creatures, I guarantee you. So why wouldn't they make even if they made a combined set? Because I mean, both albums are relatively short. So if you combine the 2 records together and made it like a, Rock and Roll Over / Destroyer, and then maybe just use the Destroyer type stage to recreate, and then you'd have a great show. I think people would go more head over heels, I think, for that than they would for the Creatures thing, in my opinion.
Well, I think that's really interesting, Mark, because if you look at their track history of what they've done the last few years, they did Dress to Kill for 40th anniversary, did Alive for 40th anniversary of Alive. Logic would say, well, maybe they're going to do something for Destroy Rock and Roll Over in 2016, but they're not. But more shows are starting to leak out. They looks like they're playing Cheyenne, Wyoming. They announced today in end of July. And it kind of reminds me of about 2010, where some shows started leaking out that they were going to do, and then eventually late spring, like they've done last few years, they announced a full tour.
Yeah.
So why not market the Destroyer rock and roll over concept? And granted, it would look cool in that little stage. The Destroyer tour would look cool in that little stage on the cruise ship. But why not take advantage of the masses and market maybe that is what they're doing. It's something we've talked about. Is market a full-on 40th anniversary of Destroyer tour for a trip around the United States or something.
Yeah, I mean, if they did that, honestly, I'd be so there. Like, you wouldn't be able to stop me out the door going to go buy a ticket for that. I mean, because I've been being one that's missed and never had a chance to see that stage. I mean, a lot of people didn't get to see it because it was such a short run for that, right? So, and I mean, now with technology improvements and stuff like that, they could probably make that stage and that much better it for that kind of a tour. And imagine what they could do now with technology and what they're putting their heads together and having great, designers and stuff like that. It could be totally awesome, And, and like we said before, even if they combine it a little bit with some of the elements of the rock and roll over, in it somehow, then that could even make it that much better. I mean, those two records, like I said, were so awesome. They really need to do something to capitalize on that. I mean, it just seems to me so strange that they wouldn't do that.
But there doesn't seem to be much hope of them actually touring North America this year. In previous years, when they've done European markets, they've stayed to mainly Europe with the occasional festival or fair in North America. So I don't see there being any proper tour for North Americans this year. So is Destroyer, does that make any sense in Europe? Yeah, it's the 40th anniversary of the first European tour. So are the Europeans going to get it any more than they did in 1976? Yes, I think they'd appreciate it a heck of a lot more with the amount of history that's passed between now and then. But we still have kind of a disconnect in both of these of doing Creatures of the Night at Sea and not really having a clear picture yet. And it's very early in the year. There's only, 8 dates that have been announced so far. 2 of them, Durant in Oklahoma and Sioux Falls, the Badlands, Pawn, and whatever it is, aren't going to count for anything where, for the rest of the year, they're just appearances, basically.
They're not pulling anything new out.
No, they're showing up and
even
getting
that
paid.
Orlando show in April, they're not going to pull anything new out.
Yeah, Moonstone's that's its first festival, so it's going to be a shortened festival set. Gods of Metal in Italy isn't going to be anything like the 3 German dates that have been announced because it's part of a festival. So yeah, prove me wrong. I'm happy to be wrong. But it's very early in the year to kind of be trying to figure out, and for them, they should be marketing already because summer season comes up very soon. Mm-hmm. We're already at the end, coming up towards the end of January, and we're looking at May for European dates, and that's a very short lead for them to get things together and actually get a better picture. But it seems very incongruous what's going on these days.
And don't they announce? In the past, haven't they announced European dates like really, really far in advance? You would think that they're not just going over to Europe just for a few shows, that there would be more than just a handful of dates that have been announced already.
Yeah, especially when they're doing shows that aren't part of a bigger package. My personal opinion is that they need more of a lead time to sell enough tickets because tickets in Europe, number one, are more expensive. We'll have to look at what the dollar is doing at the moment as well and the strength of those respective currencies for the ticket costs. And come on, Kiss is not as major as they were. So the more time they have to sell tickets, the more time they have to get asses in seats. So it seems to be kind of ludicrous to not be giving themselves the most opportunity to sell tickets and to actually be selling a concept to people.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. Most bands, even bands I'm sure that are bigger in those respects than Kiss, they always give themselves. I mean, isn't that the rule of thumb? I mean, I learned that in the whole business school aspect of the whole music business is that, you need to give yourself a proper plan, a proper strategy, and you need to give yourself time to market, to get promotion happening. You need to get, as many people as possible aware of the concert. I mean, you can't just expect, 2 months after you announce something that you're going to be there, like 2 months after you announce it, that it's going to be a huge sellout. I mean, it doesn't work that way. I mean, you need time. You need time to get people interested, to work out things. Maybe some people would want to go, but because of the timing, they don't have enough time. And if you give them more time to think about it, might be able to make alterations to go and see you, right? So I think Julian's 100% right. And I mean, you need more time in between the actual performance and the announcing of the shows. I mean, that's just common sense. I don't know what's going on in their end because of that, but I think that a lot of other festivals, like just the other day, I saw Rocklahoma has already announced a full, complete lineup for their festival and stuff like that, and that's still months and months away, but they've already announced it now.
Yeah. Well, I think people like to start planning their summer vacations and what they're going to do with their time off from work. And if you're going to travel to go see a show, and I think, a lot of that's like, especially like in Europe, that, they might play one show in France, they might play one show in Spain, where people want to plan what they're going to do with their allotted vacation time. And granted, in the United States, they haven't announced those more recent tours since like the middle of March, like when they did Def Leppard and Motley Crue. They announced those like the middle of March, and they're usually a later summer type of tour. But people start planning their vacations early, and I think a lot of people's places of employment requires you to put in the time you're going to have off, so that we know that more than one person isn't going to be absent at a time, so that people can plan ahead. So it is a little confusing that the one date's leaked out here, one date is announced there, and it's just kind of like, well, what are we doing? Are we going to go out and put on the monster outfits again for the how many year in a row now, and play on the Spider stage or play on the Vegas stage, as we've been calling it? It's just going to be the same old, or the wheels back to spinning like they were in 2005, 2006, 2007.
Yeah, that's what it almost kind of reminds me of, these whole, a show here, a show there. It just doesn't seem like there's any real game plan at the moment for something structured. It just seems like, okay, we got an offer to go here. Yeah, we'll do that. We got an offer to do this. Yeah, okay, we'll go do that. It just seems like it's just very sporadic. Now, knowing Kiss, do you think that maybe they're just kind of, leading us on here a bit? Maybe they do have something in their back pocket that they're kind of planning for and then ready to hit us with over the head after, or what? I mean, or is everything, or are they just basing this whole year on the whole Kiss Cruise, the big excitement around that,
Hopefully they got something cooking. Hopefully there's something. I mean, I'd like to see, us going back to a year ago when we first did the first episode. I'd love to see another deluxe edition, but
yeah.
We've been all wishing.
Wait, a deluxe Kiss deluxe edition?
I know, right?
Universal?
You mean them?
Them? I'm sorry, I don't even want them to organize a piss up in a brewery. But getting back to not bashing Universal, I'm pretty sure they do have things cooking. That would be without a doubt what is going on. But the trickle of dates, are there problems with guarantees? Are there problems, again, economics with the tour routing? Are they, just because I need 6 months to plan if I'm going to go and do something, I don't remember what it's like to be a European. It's been so long since I lived there. So, and I was unemployed, so I don't know what it was like to ask someone for time off in the summer. But if they're going on tour and I want to go and see them, I got to be able to plan that out. If I'm going to England to go and try and get them in a Germany show, or I need months well in advance, and obviously they're not catering to me, saying, well, when's Mr. Gill going to be able to book his ticket? They're thinking about the Germans, the local markets, not the travelers. But there's a lot of traveling that goes on in Europe to these shows, and I'm sure they're well aware of the contingent of fans who will go around to 5, 6, 10 shows and spend a lot of money at meet and greets at those shows as well. So
yeah. I mean, they gotta know that. I mean, sorry, just really quickly, you look at a festival like Wacken Open Air, and when they show the audience footage, you can count easily like 15 different country flags waving in the air when the festival's going. I mean, they must be aware of the fact that there's lots of people traveling from festivals to festivals to festivals. So it is something that they should be aware of. So sorry, Alex, go ahead.
Oh, I'm curious. There was a topic on the Kiss FAQ, and it kind of piqued my interest a little. Curious, maybe if it has to do with it, is the Guns N' Roses, with what they're planning on doing.
Yeah.
What they're doing. If I mean, I know this topic says Guns N' Roses reunion tour spelled doom for Kiss 2016 ? But I'm wondering if maybe Kiss is waiting to see what the Guns N' Roses camp have and plan before they announce anything themselves.
It is a valid point because, I mean, think about it. If that tour takes off for them, I mean, it ain't going to be cheap, number one, to go see this with them. And number two, that must be in the back of Gene's and Paul's mind now. If people are going to be dropping hundreds of dollars to see Guns N' Roses, we probably shouldn't be focusing our tour around at any time near when they're out there because it's going to dip into our audience for sure.
Which means package tour again.
Yeah, but would they?
I think you're going to see package tour regardless.
Yeah, but I mean, I can't see them going with Guns together. There's no way that's going to happen.
No, none of that. No.
Yeah,
Guns isn't having that.
Guns doesn't. Yeah. Well, Guns isn't going to need if it.
They don't need it.
I mean, they don't need it. They're not going to need it.
Exactly. I mean, there's a rumor that Skid Row they're trying to push back to reform the original lineup to go out with Guns like they did back in, I think it was the Use Your Illusions tour. I know that happened here in Canada. Right. Yeah. So, but I mean, who would they do it with?
Who, Guns? Well,
who would Kiss do?
They could have your sister opening up for them. It's not going to matter.
Yeah, I mean, who's going to Kiss? If you're talking about a package tour, who's going to Kiss bring with them to rival a Guns N' Roses tour?
They're not, and they know they're not going to rival that. They know their market isn't
not their competition.
Isn't anywhere near that now.
Or even like AC/DC. Those arena shows sold out.
Yeah, that's a different level.
It's a whole different.
Kiss knows that.
They need a co-headliner. They can't go out like an AC/DC or Guns N' Roses.
They know they're going to make more on meet and greets and merchandise than they are up front from a ticket, from being able to sell out a stadium. They're not Metallica. They're not AC/DC. They know that. They're comfortable with that, and they work around it. So, a package deal is more than likely the only way they're going to get out there because that, number one, allows them to call it a co-headlining tour and play the shorter set that better suits them as elder, performers.
Elder statesmen?
Yeah.
So, I know we're way off topic, but...
What was the topic?
Yeah, I know.
Features Kruise.
Oh, that ship sailed.
Literally. But if they were to do a co-headlining tour, and something that gets brought up on FAQ all the time, who would you guys, just personally, like to see them do a co-headlining tour with? But realistically, don't say Guns N' Roses or AC/DC. You know what I mean? Be realistic.
I mean, I can't see like a co-headline, but I'd love to see Y&T open for Kiss. I know when like Y&T does a show, they always bring out a good crowd. I think it'd be a great show. I mean, they've already they did the Aerosmith Kiss tour, and Aerosmith, most of them hate Kiss anyway, so clearly it was money. So I can't see what other bands would want to really go out with Kiss that would have enough power to do a good co-headlining tour at the moment, unless maybe like they take like Black Star Riders, that like kind of different version of like Thin Lizzy, the new recording. But
it's like drawing.
You know what? There's one band that I kind of think of that might work, but I mean, musically they are a little bit different in style, so I don't know if it would work as well. But they have a record coming out now, a new one. It would be a good idea maybe to bring them out. They would be able to go on before Kiss because I know in their heads they wouldn't deem themselves as bigger. But maybe a band like Megadeth, they have a new album coming out now. They have a I don't know. That you're asking me what I would like to see. I still love Megadeth. I want
to see Megadeth on their own.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I say, but I'm only just thinking of that from the logic perspective that they have a new record. It would make sense to go out on tour. They wouldn't step on Kiss's toes, I don't think, But I mean, because for me, I'm hard pressed to think of a band to package up with Kiss right now.
I just don't think you could put that sort of energy on before Kiss and not suck away the energy of Kiss's show and start feeling that it was maybe a little bit pedestrian because the key has come down, the tempo's come down on a lot of Kiss's stuff. Megadeth I fucking love. And I would, I've had tickets to every tour, since I've been back in the States for Megadeth. But I don't want to see them on a co-headlining package with that. I like to go in and see Megadeth on their own. Kiss, who else is out there right now who's got an album coming out? Cheap Trick. I think that this is the one that's got to be done again. The Cheap Trick, Kiss, and I'm going to throw a third act in there just because it's another guilty pleasure, and it's Wasp, who otherwise wouldn't get on a tour in America and get to play to anyone, with their latest album, which is really strong, melodic, classic Wasp, very, very similar in style to the stuff they were doing in Last Command and Electric Circus. So not overly grinding, fuck like a beast material, but very melodic, and obviously now Blackie's a little bit different as a songwriter and performer. He's got a little bit more introspective, material. So I'd love to see Wasp with Kiss. They've done it before. They've toured with Cheap Trick before, and I think those three could be kind of cool.
I think that's not a bad idea. I think you would, even in no disrespect to Cheap Trick, but I think you would need another maybe lower echelon band to kind of draw a little bit more if you put Cheap Trick on there too. But I think Wasp would be a good choice though too. I think
what's funny when you bring up Cheap Trick, because I've heard this before in a couple of other things I've listened to before, where they're talking about how Cheap Trick is a phenomenal live band, but they seem to, for some reason, when they bring them up with Kiss, they always seem to say that it doesn't make sense to some people because it seems like they're almost drawing from the same glass for the audience. Like, it just seems like they're not bringing extra people in. It's like they're bringing the same people into the audience. So rather than make a bigger crowd out of it, it's like if you bring Cheap Trick, great, it's going to be a great show, but it's not going to put any more asses in the seats than it would without them. They think,
Could you say that about Kiss and Motley Crue though? In 2012, I think you're drawn from the same crowd when you did that.
Well, but Motley's a little different. I think as time went on, they kind of split themselves a bit away from Kiss, I think. They kind of took a bit more chances with stuff. Whether they were good or not, that's up for debate. But I think that, Motley Crue was a bit different. Their shows I always thought were a little bit more adventurous. I thought there's some of Motley's stage shows were a lot better than Kiss's. No offense, right? I mean, some of these carnival ones that they did before were really cool that they did Motley Crue. So I think when they did that joint tour together, it was good because frankly, when I went and saw them, I saw people who left after Motley Crue that didn't stay for Kiss. So there is a definite division. It's not the same audience that goes to see Motley Crue will stay for Kiss. Some of them will, for sure. I would, right? But I can't say that would be par for the whole audience.
Yeah, and crossover is the important thing. While we can say that there's a lot of Cheap Trick fans who are Kiss fans and vice versa, now there are a lot of Kiss fans who won't go to a Kiss show when it does come by. Maybe getting another band like Cheap Trick in is a way to get those, people who no longer are that diehard to go to a Kiss show. Because, come on, it costs a lot of money to go to a concert, even if you're getting the lawn seats. You still got parking. You still got probably babysitter, time off from work to do stuff. There are a lot of additional costs that are associated with going to a show, let alone if you even have a beer when you're there, or a soda, God, or a $8 bottle of water.
Well have beers and sodas, ridiculous.
Yeah, so, if there's crossover, I think that's all fair, and we saw with Motley Crue, there were some people. Alex, you okay?
I'm good. Sorry, I've been in class
Boring.
all day.
I'm sorry, Alex. Sorry to bother you.
I've been.
That's when you put your head down. You're just like...
I've been in classes all day, have some tests to take.
Sorry to bother you.
Yeah.
Please, keep going.
Okay. Well, I completely lost where I was, but I think there's enough crossover nowadays that there are enough Kiss fans or Cheap Trick fans who skip going to shows just because they can't be bothered, because they think they've seen it all, that if you package up the right deal. I mean, there's other bands, another one that just popped into my head is Tesla would be another really good pairing.
Cool.
Yeah.
A Tesla Cheap Trick Kiss would be...
Cinderella.
Cinderella.
Oh.
That's so freaking good.
Yeah.
He's so freaking talented. It's ridiculous. It's not fair.
That would be good.
But I think I'd rather save Tesla, Cinderella for the package.
Tesla Cinderella Kiss would work.
No, Tesla, Cinderella, and David Lee Roth band 1986 reunion. That would be fucking awesome because those were the two bands that opened for him back then.
That was so good.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man.
I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Screw Kiss. I'm not going to that if David Lee Roth's touring. So, all right. So another tangent. Sorry, Cinderella.
That's good.
But Cinderella would be cool to go down if they went down that road. They did, and I've heard, and I know, I'm not trying to pump up this band or anything, but I have heard that Poison was in the works of doing something possibly, and I'm not trying to say that Poison's great or anything, but
they're a draw.
That could work again for a draw with a crossover, kind of like Def Leppard did 2 years ago, where you get the girls who liked Poison when they were in high school, whatever, and I remember Kiss too, and I think you'd have the same type of demographic, but and a crossover at the same time.
Yeah.
And like Bret Michaels or not, say what you want to about him. That's neither here nor there. But I think it could be a draw for a co-headlining tour.
I think that's brilliant, Lonnie, because you think about it, there is a lot of female fans out there that still love Poison now. And what do guys love? They love women. So they're gonna follow those women into those shows. I'm telling you, you're gonna get guys that go there because of it.
These are now middle-aged soccer moms, or
yeah, okay, but still, there's still guys that will go because of that.
But the same thing with Def Leppard 2 years ago too.
Mark would be there.
Who loved Joe Elliott but the same thing with who loved Joe Elliott in the 80s though. You know what I mean? Who loved Def Leppard for the same reason they loved Poison in 1989.
It's a flashback to their youth, and they want to relive it.
Gotta get up on this stuff.
Julian's not buying it.
No.
You mean you don't want to see Cece going up there singing "I hate every bone in your body but mine"?
Sorry, I think CeCe's absolutely hilarious, and I think he's underrated as a guitar. I just fucking hate Poison, and it's mainly Bret Michaels. But doesn't Ricky rock it? And yeah, I do know who the guys' names are. Doesn't he have?
We all know who their names are.
Doesn't he have an issue with cancer currently?
I think he does actually.
Really?
Yeah, don't they have an issue with their frontman? They've got lead singer disease again. Mm-hmm. That it's the three versus the one, and the one
he doesn't need the other three
until it's time to tour as Poison. So, yeah, would it be a package? Then you might as well expand it again, because I don't want to see a 2004 tour again. And who was the opening act on that one? That was ZO2, I think. ZO2, fantastic band, but they didn't put any asses in seats. They just entertained the shit out of you. Then you might as well call up Slaughter.
You know what, though? We're missing one band, though, because I just remember seeing this now a couple of days ago that they were talking on the net about this. What's happening in 2016 with Van Halen? They're supposed to be going back out on tour. What about a Kiss Van Halen tour? That would be interesting.
Has Van Halen dropped enough in terms of where they are that they could justify, or even would Edward ever have it?
Yeah, that's just a band that just popped into my head. Just strictly for the debate of discussing it, right?
It must be time for Gary Cherone reunion?
Come back.
Time to bring Sammy back.
Who is their lead singer at the moment? Because what was it? That promo shot that was recently put out of just the Van Halens, and David obviously was courting, Steve
Vai.
Yeah.
Steve Vai and Billy Sheehan to do the Eat 'em and Smile.
Bissonette. So, that's all like a bit of a clusterfuck. But would they tour with Van Halen?
Or the David Lee Roth
Eat
'em and Smile?
Who would open?
Mm-hmm. Why did they alternate it?
Because the logistics would just be a fucking nightmare to do any alternation.
Yes.
It just doesn't work. It's economics. Everything's choreographed. So, who has the bigger stage show? Well, usually Kiss. Who has the bigger ego?
Van Halen.
That could be an interesting. That could be a good death match.
Maybe I know as a different again. I think Chicago and Earth, Wind and Fire, when they toured together, they would come out and do like the first two songs together, and it'd be a mix like a Chicago song and Earth, Wind, and then they would flip a coin and see who was going to go first, and then whatever band did, I think they did like 10 to 12 songs, and I remember like with Chicago, they would have Philip Bailey from Earth, Wind and Fire come out, and he would do "If You Leave Me Now" with the band, and then the other band would go on stage, and then they would finish, with the encore with both bands again, doing like 25 or 64 or so. I mean, not that to get on the Kiss stage is sacred and stuff, but maybe they do something cool like that with another band, and that's.
But you're forgetting something though, that those guys seem to be like those two bands seem to act like they're really good friends. I mean, are Van Halen and Kiss that good at chums? I doubt it. But here's an interesting thing. Could you imagine if they did the tour together like that and they brought out Alex and Eddie to do Christine 16 with Gene there? Like the demo days there?
I think you're reaching at this point.
Yeah, I know. That's just a dream, but that would be interesting. But I mean, I think for what you mentioned,
it's the only way that you'll ever hear that version.
Yeah, exactly. I think Alex brought up a good point. But bands that are really good friends like that can get together and say, okay, let's make this work, can make that happen. When I saw when they were talking about Yes, and I think it was Yes and Toto went together, they did a thing like that too, where they alternated. But then they don't have stages like Kiss, obviously, these bands, right? So they can do that, but. But if they really wanted to, if they were like great friends, these bands, and sat down all together and said, hey, let's try to make a stage that we can do that, anything can happen. But it's ego and money and stuff like that, right?
Okay, so let's talk about another band that Kiss has toured with historically, and we're going back to the Crazy Nights era here, and this band has a new album coming out, Anthrax. And that goes on from your Megadeth suggestion. They toured with Anthrax before. Anthrax is still around. Anthrax has an album coming out. Anthrax still has no credibility whatsoever.
And I think that's a problem. I think that's the problem with making a package. I think you still need somebody else.
Someone else, yeah.
I don't think Anthrax is enough of a draw for a co-headliner. Not the bash Anthrax, but I just don't think they have the popularity to. They're not. Yeah, they're not Def Leppard. They're not Motley Crue.
They're like the cockroaches of death metal. They're still around, and I can't find any reason to explain why they're still around. From my perspective, they're just one of those bands I never got. So.
Yeah. I don't know. This is a really strange thing to talk about. I mean, who would have thought that it would be so difficult to think of a band that Kiss could go on a tour with? I mean, I never would have thought it, that it would be so hard to think of a band that would fit playing with them,
and people have talked to Alice Cooper for years about Alice and Kiss touring together, but Alice, I think, has done that so extensively with Motley at this point in time that I think when Alice goes back out again, he's going to want to do his own thing. And
isn't he doing an Evening With show now? I just saw them announce something in Tennessee or something that he's playing as an Evening with Alice Cooper.
Really? I haven't seen any dates, but and there you go, to your point. I think an Evening with Alice Cooper is more what he's going to want to do at this point. He's been playing these abbreviated opening act set lists with Motley Crue for the last 2 years. He's been off and on tour with them.
Yeah.
I don't think that going back out on tour in that capacity is up his alley. Yeah, I see he's doing a date in May the 2nd in Nashville.
Yeah. And that's the thing too.
Encore.
In a perfect world, Kiss doing a Evening with Kiss would be great, but we know they can't do it. Mainly because of, I don't think Paul could survive a double set like that, But I mean, I think that's the problem. I think Kiss at this point, if things would have worked out well with them, they should have been at this point that band. Rush did it. They did an Evening with. Alice Cooper's starting to do stuff like that. Even Yes did a thing where there was like an Evening with, where they played like 2 or 3 of their albums in a row and full, right? I mean, they should have been able at this point to go back on their popularity and their legacy status and say, we're going to do an Evening with now tour. We don't need anybody else. We'll play whatever arenas or sheds or whatever, and we'll go out and just do stuff like that. And I mean, it's too bad that they're not in a position to do that, because they wouldn't need to worry about these kind of things, Yeah,
I'm just cruising through Blabbermouth here looking for bands that are still active, and it's a really difficult situation to try and package up the band from our perspective. Just think of what they're going through if they're actually even thinking in that direction. That, Twisted Sister, but not enough draw.
Again, the draw's not there for.
Again, that would be a good third act, or sorry, D, and you'd be the first act on the bill. Simple as that. Kiss would not be opening up for D. Sorry. But, there just doesn't seem to be a lot of the kind of complementary legacy acts out there. You can't do Aerosmith again because Aerosmith's just off in fucking La La Land.
No.
Yeah. And Black Sabbath is touring.
I definitely would leave after Kiss if it was Kiss Aerosmith.
Black Sabbath's doing their last tour now, and but you couldn't get them together.
I'll throw a band name. I'm sure they probably can carry their own weight, though. But just for I know, shiz and giggles. What about like an Iron Maiden Kiss tour?
Maiden doesn't need them.
Too big.
That's what I was going to say. Like, I feel like the still,
That's
like
that's as unfortunate as it may sound. Iron Maiden just transcends what Kiss is as a worldwide brand. Simple as that. They may not sell out, a lot of the American markets because they're bigger internationally, but they can do just fine on their own here. They always have, since Bruce and Adrian came back in '99. Mm-hmm. So they don't need it.
And another interesting thing, too, is that I remember watching quite a few documentaries about this band, and they always say that this band is gigantic in Europe, but never seem to have quite a big draw in North America as Queen. Like, even if it's Queen with Adam Lambert now, but because they're not that big a draw here in North America, maybe a joint thing with Kiss would be something that would be interesting, because it's definitely different audiences. If you combine the two together, who knows how that would be? Maybe I'm just daydreaming again here with something like that, but I'm just trying to think of bands that are active and that are in the sort of same legacy territory, right? Definitely Queen is, right?
Yeah. And there was a rumor a few months ago, too, about Judas Priest possibly.
Yeah, how do we forget them, until this stage in the conversation?
But that was a strong rumor for a little while, is that Judas Priest and Kiss were going to team up.
That would be great.
And that would be fantastic.
But again, it's not enough of... Priest is not enough of a draw, again.
And I think you're right. I think you might have to have an Anthrax on there, too, or something like that, to have a third act.
What about Rob Zombie?
Does he even still make music?
He has a new album. He actually has a new album coming out, February, March, something like that. But I think the problem with Zombie is kind of like what Julian said about Megadeth. I think you'd have this fast, up-tempo, in your face, really heavy, crunchy rock, and Zombie. And my brother really likes Rob Zombie, so I've seen him quite a few times. And Zombie puts on a great show with pyro and all kinds of shit going on around him. And I think that it would be hard to move into Kiss after that. Not that Kiss doesn't have pyro, we've all seen a Kiss show, but the tempo of the songs aren't going to be nearly as quick and fast and in your face as those Zombie songs are. And I think it might be a letdown after that.
It'd be like a slowed down projector.
I think so. Don't get me wrong. I like Rob Zombie, but I just don't think it would. I think it's kind of like echoing what Julian was saying about Megadeth.
Yeah, I think whatever the case is, you really have to have a band or bands that are going to somewhat mask the tempo drop that Kiss now kind of does. That everything is kind of in slow motion. It's almost like a strobe light. That they don't have the energy. They're not as active on stage. They're not playing very fast. It's almost very slow motion, a Kiss show. Obviously very different in person than watching YouTube videos, but even in Vegas, there was a noticeable drop in the tempo. As they've tuned down, they've kind of, they're tuning and getting lower and lower down to, it's like the fade out to Black Diamond happening.
Yeah.
And Gene doesn't walk across the stage, and Gene's not very mobile at all. Gene goes to his spot and pretty much stays there 99% of the show, except for to breathe fire or to draw blood and be hoisted up to the rafters. You don't see Gene and Tommy like switching spots during the show and things like that, and they're very very stationary at this point in the game. So and Rob Zombie, he's all over the place on a show like that.
Yeah, he's not pushing 70 though. So
that's why I don't know. I posed the question to you guys, so
maybe they should just stay home in their rocking chairs.
Oh, that'll get a good response, I'm sure.
Yeah, Paul Stanley's like, "Fuck you! I'm at the gym. Look at you, fat boy. I'm at the gym." Yeah, Paul Stanley is fitter than me, so you know.
I mean, I guess
here's to you, Paul.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I'll say I hope Kiss does something fun this year. If it's the tour, I hope they do a good tour package. If not, I hope they release something out there. Whether it's
product,
and Kiss. I don't care. Not Hello Kitty, please. F that stuff. No Hello Kitty stuff. If it's an archive set of the CDs, heck, with the vinyl, it'd be cool. I mean, I know they did the big Kiss reissue vinyl set. I wish they would have, even with the Kiss Theory set, have just released a double LP of just the unreleased stuff that was on the box set. That would have been cool. But something fun, do something cool. Or look at what Zeppelin's doing with their remastered series and stuff.
Yeah, when's Record Store Day? Maybe they can release Rock and Roll All Night or Beth.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that they gave out on the Kiss Cruise.
Yeah,
do something cool like that for Record Store Day. Whether it's but hopefully not the new.
Do anything. They haven't participated in that at all.
Just do something.
Or I don't know if you
colored vinyl.
I don't know if you guys are Blink 182 fans or care much for them, but they just Blink 182. But they reissued 4 other albums on limited edition tape cassettes during the Christmas break and stuff, and I thought that was a cool idea. With Kiss, do something.
That. Put Sonic Boom and Monster out on 8-track.
Cool. I got an 8-track player.
Come on, we'd all go get it.
Yeah.
Julian, you must have one.
An 8-track player? No.
No, an 8-track, just like a cassette.
An 8-track is... I don't.
My buddy has the originals on 8-track.
No, I do have to... For some odd reason, I'm trying to find a copy of The Elder on 8-track. So.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Are you working on some project about that? I think I can't remember.
The Elder book, yes.
Oh,
yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there was a good interview done today, actually.
That's something.
I can't tell you anything about it, but apparently it was very good.
I saw you being vague earlier today about that.
Yeah, I'm actually doing an interview as well, so it's fun shit. You guys are going to love it when it comes out.
Can't wait.
Cool.
Okay, so
we got that for 2016. We got a book on
Julian's book.
Yeah, there's product.
Yeah, there's also another book coming out, and I can't remember the name of it. It popped up on... Actually, I think I have it here. McFarlane's. There is a guy... Why is my web so slow today? Brett Wise is putting out the Encyclopedia of Kiss. That sounds familiar. Like the KissFAQ website, maybe, in a book?
Uh-oh. Is it time to call a lawyer?
No, I'll let Alex Carranza can call a lawyer. The FAQ is based off all his shit, so... which is based off all the mailing list shit, which was... Okay, that's enough of a history lesson, but none of it is that original. And keeping track of stuff is not that original. So, when we get back to 2016, let's start wrapping this up, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Creatures of the Night on the Kiss Cruise doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense right now, does it? We don't seem to have much of a vision for where they might be going with this other than a tank and a foxtail sticking out of someone's butt.
And a sports bra.
Yeah, and a halter top. Though, what is it? Is it the Brazil show?
Yeah,
the Rio show. That blue T-shirt Paul wears. I always wanted one of those because those are badass. So maybe some retro merch with those would be very cool. And you can just edit out Vinny and put in Tommy and Eric. So we don't have any idea where they're going with that. It sounds like a nice idea. Let's go back to those 3 songs that they have never performed and put you on the spot and say, this is the one you want performed. Saint and Sinner, Danger, or Killer. Alex.
I'm going to go Danger. I think it'd be a cool song to do, and there's a great version of Mr. Speed doing Danger on YouTube. And they did, so if they did it kind of close to that, it'd be a cool song to hear live.
Nice. Lonnie.
Saint and Sinner, to me, just fantastic track, and I think they could pull it off really well too. So I'd love to hear the current band try to.
Love the groove of that song. Always have. Mark.
Hands down, Saint and Sinner. I remember when they did an isolated drum track of Eric Carr doing the drum tracking for that. Just even listening to him drumming that is just phenomenal. What power behind those drums, and I think that they can do it really well.
And I'm going to be the bitch who's insane and deals in pain. Killer. I just love that song. But you know what? Hopefully, if they do anything Creatures related, they can really make a tribute to Eric Carr. And I think that would be one thing that I would love to see them do properly. They have never done a proper tribute to Eric in all the years since he's passed. And this is the 25th anniversary this year of Eric's passing. I mean, good Lord. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's another thing, too, why it would be really in bad taste for them to put Eric Singer and Eric Carr's makeup for that. And, it wouldn't be good for the Eric Carr legacy that at this point, this is what we decide we're going to do for these shows. And even though Eric Singer's been playing in Kiss in makeup since 2004, just say, get rid of those awkward years. But all of a sudden we're going to put him in Eric Carr makeup for a couple shows. That wouldn't be fair to Eric Carr.
No, he has quite still a legion of fans of his own out there too. So they wouldn't like that, I don't think.
They're going to do the video screens, just to see the original Fox up there drumming to maybe some of the songs that Eric Singer is playing along to. But seeing the Fox up there on the screen from historic footage would be, really neat, very touching. And for them maybe to do kind of a storyteller type thing, talk about Eric Carr in the studio or his input in songs. I think they're going to do it, and even though it has nothing to do with Creatures, I think All Hell's Breaking Loose is coming back. And I think that'd be a great song for them to talk about him as a songwriter, since, that song kind of starts with him, and maybe some of the other things that, Eric interpreted things this way when he came into the band. It'd be really nice for them all to talk about it, Eric Singer included, and Tommy, who obviously was on tour in the 80s.
You know what? You just brought up something that's a really excellent idea for Kiss to do. Why don't they ever do a Kiss Storytellers show, for VH1? That would be awesome. Sit down, talk about some songs first, then play it. Sit down, talk a little bit more about this. This would save Paul. He wouldn't have to play a whole set. They can just do selected songs that they talk about from important ones. Talk about Eric Carr, and that would be a great idea.
And again, they've kind of already started doing that. If you think of the last Kiss Cruise and Paul Stanley and Mistake, what an ideal opportunity for them. If they're going to do Creatures of the Night, why not do stories?
Especially with what could maybe be a small set list too. You've got time to tell stories.
Yeah, and ask fans. Shit, I mean, if you are worried about Paul's voice or Gene's stamina, and I'm sorry, Gene's an MVP. He stands up there, he doesn't move, but he plays his frickin' bass and sings the notes.
Sings.
Yeah, and he knocks it out of the park. Paul's still moving around. More power to those guys at their age, still doing what they're doing. So I'm not criticizing them in any way. But what a way to take the load off that make your audience do the talking. Make your audience expend the energy, get them involved to give yourself a break. You want to introduce a song, ask a person in the audience, hey, you, what's that mean to you? Get the stories back, get the rapport going, really invest the audience in an intimate situation, even 1,500 people. You can do it. You can pick people throughout. You can pre-pick them and have microphones near them. This is 2016. There's absolutely no reason for you to, tie yourself to performing poorly or performing more than you necessarily need to. You don't need to go above the red line and overdo it. Do it something that's comfortable for you. If you still want to be out there doing it, by all means, do it until you drop. I mean, fucking Lemmy did it. But if you're looking for shortcuts, there's plenty of ways to do it with dignity.
Yeah, definitely. think it's a great idea, Julian. Really, I think they should do it.
Yep, they can send the checks to KissFAQ P.O. Box. All right, so I think we're there. We've gone way off topic today. We're only going to talk about the cruise, but you know what? There's not that much to really say about the cruise until it's a little bit more is known about who's going, what's going to happen, what the schedule is on it, and whatnot. So, we've gone off into tangent land about touring in 2016 because you know what? It's January. No one knows a thing right now. Here are some of our ideas. Here are some of the things we're thinking about. What are you guys thinking about there? Who would you love to see Kiss, if they're going to tour, package up with? And I guess since it's going to be a European, primarily a European market tour, what European acts maybe would you like to see them hook up with, and why? Who would you hate to see them tour with other than Poison? I mean, fucking Poison.
Boy, I rubbed Julian the wrong way bringing that up.
Poison. Pet hate.
I thought I was going to get the shitstorm today from Lonnie.
I'll take the Village People over the Poison any day.
How about that, Alex?
Any day of the week. So, so I guess that's it. So let us know your thoughts, and of course, thanks for listening. But thanks, Alex, Lonnie, and Mark for joining me today, and we'll see you all on the board and next time. So take care, guys.
See you.
Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final. There are no refunds. If you like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the KissFAQ message board and discuss the topic we broadcast today. We hope to see you again.